And football became a big part of your life later, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Yeah.
Football and helping your dad. How about helping your dad first?
Well, my father had the phone, the company phone hooked up so when the company offices closed for the day, the company phone would ring in his home living room. And a lot of times in those days, there were some of the customers were Greek candy parlors that sold banana splits and pineapple sundaes and sodas to people after they got through at the show and got out of the show to walk around. If a man had a date, why, after the show was over, he might splurge and take them into a candy parlor for a banana split. And what was your question?
Well, the question is, your dad would get the call and you'd go help him.
I'd go and help carry them in. Sometimes I'd collect the money, and sometimes I'd carry the stuff in. We kind of alternated.
But you were always there to be your dad's helper.
That's right.
And then at 21, what happened when you were 21 with ice cream business?
And the ice cream at 21, I don't think 20.
You were in college. You were playing football, right? You played football in high school, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And you loved it.
Yes,
One of your
did.
happiest days, you told me, was that pep rally. Remember that pep rally in your school?
What's that?
The pep rally. Because.
Oh, yeah.
Well, tell me about that day.
Oh, that was Bennett High School, which is on Main Street, and which you have passed many times when you go up and down Main Street, was brand new, and I was in the first four-year class when it opened. And what was your question again?
My question is, the pep rally was so exciting. You said it was one of the most exciting days in your life. Hard to imagine with your big life, but that pep rally, do you remember?
It has a beautiful big auditorium in that thing. And the day before the biggest game of the year, they had a special pep rally in the auditorium, and they called all the players up on the stage one by one, and each one would get a rousing cheer. And when they called my name, I thought the ceiling shook in there.
You said it was one of the happiest days, the most thrilling moments of your life.
That was, yeah.
Because they had a championship team.
Yeah.
Now, what about when you were 16 and you didn't want to go on a trip with your parents because of football and your girlfriend? What was that about?
Well, you're right, you summed it up. But my mother said, we've planned this for a family trip, and we're all going as a family, period.
And where were you going?
We went to North Africa and Egypt, and that's where Bob and I went up to King Tut's tomb, which was just being opened.
Well, first of all, you went to Cairo, and your dad said to you...
My father, he had 5 children with him, and when he looked into it, he found that the last part of the trip up at King Tut's tomb, at that time they hadn't built any road. You had to ride donkeys over the mountain trail to get there. So he decided that taking the 4 younger children up there was not a great idea.
3 younger. Yeah.
So,
3 younger.
3
he let
younger.
You and Bob go, yeah.
3 younger, yeah. So he got railroad tickets for Bob and I to go up to Upper Egypt, and my mother and he and the younger children moved into a hotel room in Cairo till we got back.
And you were 16 and Bob was 14, and you
Yeah.
went to King Tut's tomb while it was being excavated. And you
Yeah.
know what I loved about that?
Yeah.
When you took me there when you were 96,
Yeah,
you took me as your new wife
Yeah.
to King Tut's tomb.
that's right.
And you said that's exactly where we rode the donkey down the
That's
hill.
right.
And I thought, what an experience that is
Yeah,
for you at 96 to have your wife of a few years
yeah,
right there where you and Bob had been.
that's right.
And when we went to Las Vegas, we walked into the King Tut tomb replica, and you said this is exactly how it looked, right?
It was.
Yeah, that's
That's
pretty.
right.
But your dad must have had a lot of faith in you too to let you do that.
I guess he must have.
Now, what else did you see on that trip in the Mediterranean?
The
We
well,
went to Athens, Greece,
yeah, we went and saw all the Athenium relics.
and there were no people around. In these sites you went to,
Well,
were
well,
not
they
many.
had some. I wouldn't say there were no people.
Oh, okay.
There were other tourists. It was not great crowds, but other tourists. Yeah,
And that trip changed your life in a lot of ways, didn't it?
yeah, yeah.
How? How did it change your life?
Well, I guess it must have changed it. It interested me in more in travel, I think.
How much traveling have you done?
Practically every year.
Every year, the
Yeah,
rest of your life, and you'd take your kids and do that. So that trip at 16 made a huge difference, and you went on a ship, right?
yeah, right.
Which ship was it? Do you know?
Yeah, it was the Coronia. The Coronia was sunk in World War II.
And funny, when I spoke on ships, the last time I went speaking on a ship was the new Coronia.
Is that right?
That was a Coronia. Isn't that funny? Yeah.
Yeah,
That was my last speaking trip. Remember when you said to me, honey, I'd rather take you on better trips and have all your attention
yeah,
and than share you, so I quit speaking.
yeah.
So, what else can you remember when you were young? What kind of church did you go to, or did you?
Oh, God, yes, the Christian Science Church.
Oh, God, yes, huh? What's
I think my grandmother may have been responsible for that. I think she was read a book on Christian Science and became a advocate of it and convinced my mother to be a Christian Scientist. And
So, how often did you go to church?
every Sunday. However, my father never liked it, but my father was a person to put himself out to make other people happy as much as he could. So he always went to church with my mother and with the
5 children.
5 children. We all went to church every Sunday. And of course, I went to Sunday school, and my father and mother went to that church service. And from what I figured out, I don't think he ever listened to the service. I think he just went and sat there to please my mother.
You told me he made a lot of business decisions in
I
church.
think he probably did.
Yeah, he made a lot of money sitting there, huh?
I think he probably did.
But
yeah.
what happened when you were 16,
16.
when you had your appendicitis attack?
Oh, well, I had to go into the hospital.
Yeah, but
for-
what did your mother say when it was time to go to the hospital?
Well, she hid all the Christian Science books where the doctor wouldn't see them.
Because your dad demanded that he'd had enough praying over you. We
Yeah.
were going to the doctor. Is
That's
that the way
right.
it was?
Yeah.
He said, I've had enough of this, and we're going to get him to the doctor in the hospital. She ran around the house and hid the books.
That's right. Exactly.
And it saved your life, right? Because you were having a pretty bad attack.
Yeah.
What about the time you broke your leg?
I broke my leg.
Yeah, you had your leg up on a cast for a long time, you told me.
Oh, yeah. That's when I was much smaller then. I can't recall the exact age, but I was probably something like 4 or 5 or something like that.
Oh.
I think so. I don't know the exact.
But your leg was up for a long time, you said.
Yeah, because how I broke it, I got the leg twisted and the bars to the crib.
Oh, so
Yeah.
you were really little.
I was small, so they put my leg up as high as they could in a sling, so it's sticking up in the air.
And you actually remember it. You
I
remember
remember that definitely,
Huh.
because it was very uncomfortable. So I was in this foot sling for, I guess, a year or so.
What kind of student were you?
I was good.
How good?
I was at the top of the class practically.
And when you went to Florida in the winters. Tell me about that.
Well, we'd all go to Florida for the winter, and I have to tell the truth. I was smarter than the others and the kids, and so the 4 younger ones, they'd stay down for maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and then my grandmother would take them north and they'd go back to school again. But I never went to school in the wintertime.
You tried it. You said you didn't learn enough to make it worth your time.
Well, I found that their Florida schools at that time were way behind the New York State schools.
So you went ahead and went swimming.
Yeah,
Huh?
I just went there, yeah.
What about your geometry teacher?
With what?
The geometry teacher.
Oh, yeah. Well, she, I think it was, it might have been trigonometry. It was either,
Well, some math.
yeah, it
course.
was either geometry or trigonometry. And so I took the winter off as usual, and when I checked in, she said, well, this is sort of ridiculous. You lost so much of the fundamentals here, you can never pass the Regents. I got 100% in the Regents.
Pretty good, huh?
Yeah,
You did that to prove she was wrong.
yeah.
Now, what about going to the library? You went to the library a lot. How's that?
I took the streetcar down Main Street to the library. The only library in those days was the main library in the middle of downtown Buffalo. So I'd get on the streetcar, go down to the downtown and browse around for a while and select some books and pack them up in a bag or something and take them home. And I think you were allowed to keep them for 2 or 3 weeks.